What if events had unfolded differently in Zack Snyder's Justice League? What if Iron Man had joined the Justice League? Welcome back, my fellow watchers of the multiverse, to a brand new Marvel and DC What If crossover. Have you ever imagined a world where two tech rivals existed in the same universe? Imagine a universe where Tony Stark and Bruce Wayne existed together. Have you ever thought about it? I bet you have. Well, that being said, I do want to say that I'm finally fulfilling this fan request. It's been some time since I've actually seen it on the channel, but this was a highly requested video. Once the Justice League had came out, and a lot of people really wanted me to do this what if and see what would have happened if Tony Stark, the billionaire playboy, was in Zack Snyder's Justice League. And my fellow watchers, we're going to be manipulating events within the multiverse to make this happen. Let's see how it all unfolds. Tony Stark was with Happy Hogan and Pepper Potts in a lavish conference room at Stark Industries. They were going over some logistics paperwork involving Stark Industries. Tony was almost convincing Potts to accept a contract from the US government to produce advanced weapons when the phone on the table buzzed, and someone from the switchboard announced a call for Tony Stark from Bruce Wayne. Tony groaned and hit the button to end the call. He was about to resume his pitch when the phone buzzed again. He hit the power button and shut down the phone. Happy asked Tony why he didn't just want to take the call, and he said that Bruce Wayne was the CEO of Wayne Enterprises, and he didn't want anything to do with his closest rival. Despite Bruce's efforts to hide it from the public, he knew that the man was Batman. Happy was excited and said that he deeply admired the Cape Crusader. Tony instantly shot him, a look that made him sober up, and he went silent. Pepper Potts smiled and told Happy that it was Tony's ego talking. Tony didn't bother to answer and went on with his pitch of how the company needed the federal money. Then Tony asked Potts what she thought of the contract, and she replied that Tony should probably take Wayne's call. Tony signed in exhaustion and collapsed back into his chair. Potts pressed on him, saying that it was about Stark Industries. He would have called her, so it was probably something else if he was calling Tony. Tony snorted and wearily asked her to be serious about the government contract. She then replied that she would look into it. Tony, with pride in his voice, said, "Thank you." Tony entered his office and undid his tie. He was looking forward to pouring himself a drink and checking out the progress his AI was making on his Iron Man suit. Then the lights in his expensive office began to come on and off, and the human being sitting in his sofa came into focus. Tony began to ask Bruce Wayne how he had managed to fool the temperature-sensitive lights, but he thought better of it. He instead asked him what he wanted, and Bruce got up and told him about the team of superheroes he was putting together. Bruce told Tony that in the aftermath of Superman's death at the hands of Doomsday, they needed a team that would be able to handle threats together. Tony poured himself a drink without saying a word and took a sip. He then asked Bruce why he assumed he would want to join him in fighting some hypothetical threats. Bruce said that he and Superman had barely defeated Doomsday, and if a similar threat were to come up again, he wouldn't be able to handle it all on his own. Tony set down the glass on his desk and asked Bruce why he thought he would want to join the team. Bruce signed and told Tony that Iron Man's powers could be used to extinguish greater threats and not just local criminals. Tony asked the other people that would be in the team. Bruce told him Wonder Woman, Flash, Cyborg, and Aquaman. Tony rubbed his temple and told Bruce that he wasn't interested in the proposal. Bruce opened his mouth to protest, but thought better of it. Tony wasn't worth the effort. He instead got up and left the room. Outside, with a series of controls on his phone, he summoned the Flying Fox to the grounds. The floodlights of the gigantic aircraft lit up on the grounds, and the roar of its powerful engines shook Stark Industries building. Before entering the craft, Bruce looked at the building and saw Tony at the window. He smiled to himself and went away. In the plane, Bruce was met by Alfred Pennyworth and Wonder Woman Diana Prince. Bruce was surprised to see Diana, and she looked agitated, while Alfred looked to pilot the plane. Diana pulled Bruce aside and said that she needed to talk to him. She told him that her mother had sent her a message. She said that many years ago, a god named Darkseid came to conquer Earth with his legions of parademons and 3 mother boxes. A combined force of Amazons, Atlanteans, and a Green Lantern foiled the attack, and the mother boxes were left behind during the hasty retreat of the invaders. The 3 mother boxes were left in the care of the Amazons, Atlanteans, and men. They were to be guarded in unknown locations to prevent Darkseid from returning to retrieve them. Apparently, Themyscira, the land of the Amazons, was attacked by someone, and she suspected it to be Darkseid's general, Steppenwolf, and the mother box was taken, despite the defense put up by the Amazons. Bruce asked her what a mother box can do. Diana replied by saying that a single mother box can't do much, but Darkseid's goal was to put all 3 boxes together to form a unity which would terraform Earth to be like Darkseid's planet, Apocalypse. Bruce then asked if she happened to know where the other boxes are. She said that the Atlanteans would have one, but the box entrusted to the care of men was lost long ago. Diana, in turn, asked how the team was coming along. Bruce exhaled tiredly and said that Tony Stark was quite close to calling security to throw him out. Tony let out a gut flow. Diana said that she wasn't surprised. She then said that she'll go and talk to him the next day. The next day came, and Tony wanted to go to the office. He was feeling quite ready to go to work. Outside, sitting on the hood of his expensive sports car, was a beautiful woman. She was wearing a dress and smiled invitingly at him. He smiled and confidently walked up to her. When he was close enough, she stretched out her arm for a handshake. Tony was a bit taken aback by this action, but he shook her hand. She introduced herself as Diana Prince. Tony smiled and asked what he owed the pleasure. Diana replied that she was there about the proposition put to him by Bruce Wayne. Tony's face creased into a frown, and he said, "I should have known, you're Wonder Woman." She answered yes. He then walked away from her and made to open his car, but her next words stopped him. She said that her home was attacked. He looked at her with confusion on his face. She then told him about Darkseid and his ancient quest to conquer Earth. She also mentioned the stolen mother box. She then concluded by telling him to join the team to also stop Steppenwolf. She told him that he wouldn't be able to live without himself if Steppenwolf won. After a moment of contemplating, he asked where he would be meeting, and she said Gotham City. He rolled his eyes and said that they had to pick the depressing city. He opened his car door and said that he would see her in Jersey. Tony walked into the old Wayne Manor building. He was met by Alfred, who welcomed him to the house. The house was dark and depressing. If it was his, Tony would have done a massive renovation to bring the house to the 21st century. Alfred led him to a large hall where the tables were used to hold different kinds of gadgets. This was where Bruce produced his Batman devices. He saw Bruce sitting in the chair with Diana Prince, and both of them were poring over what looked like to be ancient scrolls. They looked up when they heard him approaching. Tony spread out his arms and said, "Here I am." Bruce shook his hand and Diana smiled and thanked him for showing up. Tony made a show of looking around the room and then asked Bruce where the rest of his team were. Bruce said that they were still getting people together, and he was in fact about to go and get another person. He asked if Tony wanted to tag along. Tony really didn't want to hang out with Bruce, and he looked at Diana for her opinion. She winked at him in response. He signed, and he said yes. Bruce stood up and led him to the massive hangar which housed the Flying Fox. Tony gulped at the sheer size of the aircraft. After recovering from his initial wonder of the massive plane, he asked why they were using it instead of driving. Bruce looked at him and said that they very well couldn't drive in Ohio. Tony asked why they were going to Ohio, and Bruce replied that that was where Barry Allen had lived. Tony started to talk, but Bruce cut him off, saying that he shouldn't complain because Bruce had to travel all the way back to New York to get him, but he still got rejected. At that, Tony kept quiet, while Alfred laughed to himself. Barry Allen ran with amazing speed and reached his loft. He had just stopped a robbery at a store, and he was feeling pretty good about himself. His flat was surrounded by LED monitors, displaying a wide variety of information, including diagnostics from his suit. From the lights of the monitors, he could make out two people sitting on his chairs in the room. In alarm, he quickly turned on the lights. Before he could say anything, one of them got up and extended his hand to introduce himself as Bruce Wayne. In awe, Barry expressed his surprise at seeing the CEO of Wayne Enterprises in his flat. Tony stood up and introduced himself, but before Barry could process the news of the legendary Tony Stark visiting him, Tony handed him a photograph. It was from a security camera footage of Barry confronting a mugger. Tony stepped closer to Barry and called him a tough guy. Barry stepped back and unsuccessfully tried to deny that he was the person in the photograph. He said that although the person in the photograph looked like him, it wasn't him. Tony wanted to intimidate Barry to talk, but Bruce put his hand on his shoulder and stopped him. Bruce then said to the kid that he shouldn't deny. He said that he knew that Barry had superhuman powers, but he just needed to know the exact kind of powers it was. Barry backed away from them, smiling and saying that he had got the wrong person and that he wasn't a superhero. Bruce Wayne pushed his lips and looked at the monitor displaying Flash's suit and the diagnostic data. Barry followed his eyes and said that it was nothing and that he was just doing some school project. Bruce nodded and said, "Yeah, right." The next event that transpired took place within a second, and Tony was surprised that his mind had even registered all of it. Bruce had suddenly thrown one of his batarangs at Barry, and Barry dodged it and caught it. Barry examined the batarang and looked at Bruce and realized that Bruce is Batman. Bruce, in turn, remarked that Barry had super speed. Barry nodded his head in agreement. Tony then told Barry that he was Iron Man. Barry began to talk, but Tony cut him off and told him about the threat of Darkseid and Steppenwolf. He told Barry that Bruce was putting together a team of superheroes to take on the invaders. He asked and Barry would like to join the team. Barry then enthusiastically answered that he would love to join. Tony looked at the monitor showing the suit's diagnostic data and asked if Barry had already made the suit. Barry shook his head, saying that he hadn't done it. Tony went over to the computer and downloaded the data. When he was done, he and Bruce left the lot with Barry. Outside, the three men climbed into Bruce's car. Just before they were about to leave, Barry said, "What are your superpowers again?" And Tony and Bruce answered, "I'm rich." On board the Flying Fox, Bruce Wayne announced that they were going to Iceland to recruit Arthur Curry, the Aquaman, to join his new team. He followed his announcement by showing them a video of Arthur that he pulled from the NSA files. In the video, Arthur had damaged the underwater filming equipment that had filmed him. Alfred cued in, saying that Bruce had to be careful with Arthur because the man looked quite temperamental and would not join the team easily. Barry then asked what the name of the team is, and all the men fell quiet. He asked Wayne if he had even thought about it, but Wayne shook his head in the negative. Stark then said he assumed Barry had a name in mind. Barry then smiled and said, "Justice League." On hearing that, Wayne shared a quick look with Stark and told Barry that the name was cool and that they'll adopt it. In Iceland, Wayne went with Stark into the little village, leaving Alfred and Barry on the Flying Fox. They scouted the village and found out that Arthur always showed up with fish to feed the hungry. Wayne went to the village council and asked for permission to see Arthur, guessing that Arthur was still around somewhere. After some intense debate with the council members, Wayne and Stark had begun to relent in finding Arthur through the council. Then, Arthur revealed himself right there in the city hall, and told the duo to follow him to somewhere more private. They found an empty room, and there, Arthur asked them what they needed from him. Wayne launched into his speech detailing the threat of Steppenwolf and his mission to capture the mother boxes, one of which was in the custody of the Atlanteans. He then finished with a plea to Arthur to join the newly formed Justice League, of which he was the leader. Wayne proceeded to tell Arthur that he was Batman and that Stark was the Iron Man. They also said that they had another team member, a speedster, who could move really fast, and also Wonder Woman. Arthur did that. While all that was pretty impressive, he wasn't interested in fighting any war with a hypothetical alien intruder. Stark tried reasoning with him, saying that he shouldn't stay on the fence regarding the issue. Arthur then said that they should leave. Stark pressed on, and Arthur picked him up and pinned him on the wall in a bid to intimidate Stark to drop the issue. When Arthur finally dropped Stark, he walked out to the beach, while the other men followed by the waves. Arthur told them that he wasn't interested in fighting and risking his life for a group of strangers. He then remarked that the strong man is stronger alone, saying that he jumped and disappeared into the sea. Wayne looked at Stark and sighed tiredly. He said that there goes another one. Back at Gotham City, Tony Stark and Bruce Wayne tracked down Victor Stone, the cyborg, to a grocery store, where he had heavily disguised himself with a hoodie. It wasn't quite hard to track him. All they had to do was follow his electrical signature. Victor Stone was unnerved, because these two men knew his name. Nobody in the general public was supposed to know that Victor was still alive. There was a tombstone eradicated to keep up appearances, but these men were here and wanted to talk to him. Wayne and Stark followed Stone to his apartment, and there they gave him the full brief of what was going on. They ended with a plea for him to join the Justice League to help them take down Steppenwolf. Cyborg had spent some years avoiding people, and these men had found him. The whole situation unnerved him, and he asked them to leave. He threatened them with his advanced missile systems to get them to leave, and that worked. On returning to Wayne Manor, Stark and Wayne were surprised to see Arthur Curry there. Diana Prince had a concerned look on her face. After the men shook hands, Diana said that there was a new development. On cue, Arthur told them that Atlanteans were being kidnapped, and his half-brother, King Orm, was blaming it on the surface world, and could use that as a next pretext for attacking the surface. Because of that, Arthur had to investigate the situation on his own. Following the information provided by Wayne and Stark, he knew that Steppenwolf was on the move, so he went to the Atlantean stronghold that held the Mother Box. There, he basically walked in on Steppenwolf and his legion of parademons, mounting a coordinated attack. His friend, Princess Mara, was almost killed in the process. He joined the fight, but he failed to stop Steppenwolf from making away with the Atlantean Mother Box. Stark sat in a chair and rubbed his temples. Things weren't going well at all. He said that Steppenwolf may have 2 boxes, but his plan won't work without all 3. They needed to secure the 3rd box before he did. Suddenly, the phone call rang, and Alfred's voice wafted from the device. He announced that Gotham City's police commissioner, James Gordon, was on the line and holding for him. Bruce signed and put the phone on speaker. James Gordon told him that in a facility under Gotham Harbor, an army of suspected aliens were holding several employees of Star Labs hostage. Bruce told Gordon that he was on top of the issue. After hanging up, he looked at the group and asked them to gear up, for they would confront Steppenwolf. As the group disappeared, Tony pulled Barry Allen away and led him to a large box. Emblazed on it were the logo and name of Stark Industries. Tony opened the box to reveal the Flash's suit for Barry. Barry was excited and picked up the suit. Tony said that he made some adjustments to the suit from what Barry had originally done, but it was still fine. Barry thanked Tony for the brand new suit. The Justice League met Steppenwolf, interrogating the employees, and among the hostages was Victor Stone's father. While the initial verbal confrontation was going on, Victor showed up at the scene. He whispered to Stark that he had hacked into Wayne's network and had listened in on the call. Tony Stark, fully clad in his Iron Man suit, smiled at Victor, but the smile couldn't be seen. Then, the chaos started when Steppenwolf set his parademons on the Justice League. Wonder Woman was throwing punches and knocking out the alien creatures. Aquaman was hitting and stabbing the parademons with his Tride, while Cyborg was zapping them with his plasma cannons. Batman and Iron Man were simultaneously battling the parademons and Steppenwolf. The entire dynamic of the battle was changed when Cyborg decided to go a little extra, and he fired a missile from his rocket launcher at Steppenwolf. Steppenwolf caught the missile and hurled it at the wall, where it exploded. The bad news was that it unleashed the waters of Gotham Harbor on them. Aquaman then proceeded to hold off the waters, while the other heroes tried to evacuate the hostages out of harm's way. When the waters started flowing, Steppenwolf and his parademons fled the scene. At Wayne Manor, the heroes sat down to regroup and discuss what they had seen. Bruce said that he was happy that Victor had decided to join them. Victor told them that he had the third mother box. Bruce asked where it was, and Victor replied that it was in his apartment. Victor went with Barry, and the two became friends. They bonded over talking about tech. After retrieving the box, Arthur asked why Steppenwolf wanted the box so much. Victor then told them how his father had used the box to restore his lost limbs. He said that the box is a change machine that enforces the will of its masters to utterly destroy or restore something that is to life. While the rest of the group were giving their takes on what to do with the box, Tony Stark's mind was thinking of something else. After a moment of contemplating, he blurted it out. While the rest thought the idea was absurd, Bruce Wayne surprisingly supported it. He proceeded to tell the group that they could benefit from using the box to resurrect Superman. Superman was stronger than all of them combined, and they could really use his help right now. Cyborg told them that the box may not restore Superman to what he was. After all, he himself was fixed wrongly by the box. Stark cued in, saying that even if Superman would be changed, his powers would be far more advanced this time, and they could use the help. With that, the group agreed to resurrect Superman amidst the protests by Diana. Barry and Victor exhumed Superman's body and placed it in the antibiotic fluid of a Genesis chamber in Star Labs. Then, Barry activated the box and Superman was resurrected. When he woke up, Superman flew to his memorial site, and the group on board the Flying Fox tracked him down to the place. There, they surrounded Clark Kent, who was trying to remember who they were. Suddenly, Cyborg's automatic missile defense system deemed Kent as a worthy enemy and activated itself. Had missed a failed attempt by Stone to control it. The missile sailed past and exploded into the memorial stone behind Clark Kent, who had dodged it. Stark immediately suited up, and the others followed suit. None of that mattered though, because Kent defeated them cleanly. During the altercation, Superman recalled some of his memories where Batman had beaten him within the inch of his life. He almost returned the favor and killed Batman right there, but Lois Lane had arrived. Then Kent walked up to a shell-shocked Lois and hugged her. He held her and flew to the Kent farm in Smallville, where he reunited with his mother, Martha Kent. Back at Star Labs, Clark Kent joined the heroes and donned a new black suit. The others were nursing their bruises when Steppenwolf and his armies of parademons arrived. They had been attracted when the mother boxes had been used to resurrect Superman. The heroes fought valiantly, but failed to stop Steppenwolf from taking the mother box. The good news was that Victor's father had supercharged the mother box with laser heat, making it easy to track it, and using the heat signature. The bad news was that Victor's father had used up all his energy and he had died. With the help of an impressive array of Stark satellites, they were able to pinpoint the exact location of the mother box. The trace took them to an abandoned Russian town. The alien intruders were using an abandoned nuclear reactor tower to conduct the Unity. Inside the tower, the heroes met Steppenwolf, conducting the Unity. The entire team charged in towards the tower to confront the alien intruders head-on. The fight fought, and the others fought to let Cyborg through to separate the mother boxes. Cyborg reached it and tried unsuccessfully to separate them. Wonder Woman spied Steppenwolf approaching Cyborg to stop him from separating the boxes. She then used the lasso to pull him away from Cyborg. She wasn't having much luck, and Aquaman joined in. They made some progress, but they were fast losing it. Then Superman joined the fray and easily defeated Steppenwolf. Steppenwolf attacked again, but Aquaman speared him with his trident from behind, and Superman delivered a devastating punch, while knocked out towards the boom tubes of Apocalypse. Superman then joined Cyborg in trying to separate the boxes, but it was too late. For the Unity was complete, and Earth was terraformed. Flash saw the shockwave spreading from the center of the tower, and he immediately increased his running speed and entered into the Speed Force. He then used his abilities to turn back time to when Wonder Woman was trying to take Steppenwolf down. He then ran to Iron Man and asked him to go help Cyborg separate the boxes. Superman heard Barry's plea to Stark and went to the boxes. Iron Man joined too. Each man held one box as they tried to separate them. Wonder Woman and Aquaman failed to hold Steppenwolf, and he broke free from the lasso and ran to the group. Just as the boxes separated and fell to the floor, Steppenwolf was electrocuted. Steppenwolf's axe rammed into Iron Man's neck, penetrating his suit and beheading him instantly. Wonder Woman screamed no, and Aquaman used his trident and impaled Steppenwolf. Superman came and dealt a devastating blow to the new god. Superman then pushed him to the boom tube, and he was decapitated by Wonder Woman's lasso as he flew through, killing him and ending the invasion. Steppenwolf's head rolled and stopped at Darkseid's feet, several universes away. Tony woke up with a start in the middle of the night. Pepper Potts, who was still sleeping beside him, woke up too and looked at his concern. He was sweating and his chest was heavy. Pepper asked him what was wrong. He managed to slowly breathe and he answered her, "You won't believe the dream that I just had." And that is going to be what if Iron Man was in Zack Snyder's Justice League. Now, this storyline was very interesting, especially the ending where Iron Man died at the end. But it could have been a dream. Maybe Tony was dreaming of this event from the MCU timeline. And we might be able to see a part 2. If you would like to see a part 2 of, what if Tony was in the Justice League, I definitely will do it. I just want to know how you enjoyed this storyline, because I think it was a very unique take on the story and really adding in Tony. Although not a lot had changed, I think a couple things definitely did change with the Flash getting a Stark-made suit, and a couple other things, but I do hope that you enjoyed this Marvel and DC crossover video. And as always, do make sure to subscribe, like, share, and turn those notifications on so you and your friends are all up to date with the latest content. But that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and have an amazing day.